So right now I'm not sitting in some room quietly recording some kind of YouTube video in the whole silence. So everything can be very much clear. I'm not reading some arguments, but yeah, I'm here to speak of some topic about one individual who were making certain posts about some certain JJK characters and techniques. Jujutsu Kaisen characters and techniques fundamentally rivaling OPM characters, fundamentally rivaling Saitama and Karu. How is that even possible? Let's check out his arguments, dude. Let's check it. So, does that mean Sukuna can survive? Does that mean Sukuna can beat Saitama? World cutting slash doesn't target the enemy, instead it cuts the space in which the target exists, basically slicing the entire section of reality itself, and once the foundational space is destroyed, the entity can no longer remain intact. That means it completely bypasses the concept of durability. Only beings will exist beyond space and time, and also the reality, outer worlds of being like Hajin or Feathering can survive something like that. Any argument? Of course, I have counter argument, because your premises and conclusion is absolutely an abomination, dude. Because what you said is that, okay, I understood that world cutting slash doesn't just target the enemy, instead it targets the space in which the target exists. Basically, space. Okay. Here, there is fundamental differentiation of the concept of space itself. Okay, the manga never actually stated that the space here is talking about some kind of higher dimensional access, where the concept of space itself is very much different from how we view the concept of space and the 3D reality. The concept of space in the brain cosmology, where the higher dimensional impacts and constructs exist. The concept of space, when we are talking about a vector space that is completely abstract. The concept of space in the concrete reality or dimension. The concept of space in terms of vector dots and in terms of many other hyperplane. Okay, you are not, neither Suguna nor the manga talks about the very concept of space or all the differentiation of space, basically. So your argument is basically like, just because Suguna has one type of knife, or say an axe, which is utilized to cut wood, or plastic can be utilized to slice iron or diamond. This is fundamentally so flawed, dude. Basically, the manga says it was an incredibly difficult technique to obtain, but I did have quite the wonderful model without regard for inviolability. As long as it exists inside the space, the world, those existence would split apart. Actually, he is talking about existence and space and world. All you can argue is that this technique would go straight up to minimum a universal level, not to the fundamental differentiation and differentiation of the concept of space itself in the whole way, because there is no proof that this fundamental attack, the world cutting slash, have the ability to bisect an abstract dimension construct or a hyperplane dimensional construct, or even higher dimensional cosmological construct, where the fundamental definition of the space is different from each other. So your argument is just another hyperbolic argument that Suguna is able to fundamentally dissect the whole concept of abstract and concrete space, or all possible dimension where the space is defined. Actually, this is so retarded. So such an argument doesn't even sustain longer if anybody who has fundamental knowledge in the concept of dimensional scaling and force scaling would see this. So I So I request that you shall delete this, because the argument here is about Sugana is able to destroy 3D reality, where the definition of space is context within the 3D reality. Of course, he is not deleting some kind of vector spaces or dots or some kind of Hilbert space, where the definition of space is different from how we define the concept of space or the base level space in the theoretical physics or in the dimensional scaling, even in fiction as well as in reality. Okay? And there is no fundamental argument that he is able to fundamentally cut all the z-axis, y-axis and x-axis of the reality. Like we can say the 3D, the 4D space is just like x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, that is length, breadth and height with the time. Of course, the word cutting slash is never said to be completely demolishing the time or separating it from the reality. Meanwhile, it only establishes the fact that it is able to divide x, y and z and between them, a continuum between them, a hyperplane of lower construct between them. And now that he is fundamentally able to dissect all x, y and z at all time. I mean, the manga has never shown such a feat, so how are you claiming that Sugana is able to destroy some kind of abstract space, vector space, Hilbert space, hyperplane space? How are you claiming, how are you making such a BS claim that he is able to do such level of feats when the manga has only talked about the concrete existence, like it has only clearly talked about space, that world, those existences. Existences doesn't entirely imply that he is able to fundamentally dissect the abstract realities or abstract components of space and dimension. So you are just fundamentally, just yapping, dude. Yeah, you have never proven anything. Now coming to your second argument. So your second argument is that, can Hiromi Higurama beat Saitama? Dude, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, I'm not going to shotgun you here with this whole argument. I just want to talk about your argument. First, we will talk about it. So your argument is that after receiving the death penalty through the judgment, Higurama gains the executioner's sword. Anyone it touches dies instantly. Okay. Anyone it touches dies instantly. On the other side, Saitama has extreme durability and infinite growth potential because he broke his limiter. Okay, this is fundamentally a flawed argument, because there is no way stated that he has some kind of infinite potential or transfinite or any types of potential infinity or actual infinity growth, because all you guys bring is that one kind of graph argument from One Punch Man chapter 168 actually. No, 167. I assume, 167. But many people just miss that his strength actually reached a level, a domain where he doesn't have to grow anymore. Because just after that growing panel, the growth panel argument, it has fundamentally shown that Saitama's strength has reached a certain domain that he doesn't have to grow anymore. His strength is not something that anybody can measure, which postulate to some kind of actual infinity rather than some kind of potential infinity. So literally his strength reached a level it is no more potential but actual, even if he was holding back, where the manga has directly stated from the narration itself that there was no longer anybody left to measure what level Saitama's strength has reached. Okay, like if his strength wasn't an actual infinity, God would eradicate him, since he couldn't one shot cosmic Garu, before the growth or this stage has happened. If he followed some kind of potential infinity logic, then God must kill Saitama by now, since he couldn't one-shot someone who held a fracture of God's essence while rejecting it. So, if full power God or his avatar, who's more transcendental than Garu's power, shows up, because God just completely dusted Garu, must kill him before he adapts, okay? A god does everything to kill him, sends threat at a god level to any avatars against him, but doesn't go himself all alone. God doesn't wish to literally let all this happen or survive, because God knows when if he were to battle Saitama, the destruction level that would cause would be very inevitable. So logically speaking, the statement there was no longer anyone left to measure what strength he has reached, because he has reached strength. It is no longer growing. So this kind of logic is completely flawed. It isn't some kind of metaphorical or a universe based, but actual reality that nobody does. Also, there is potential logic growth for no potential logical growth for beings who break classical and non-classical logic and break the laws of thought. So Saitama's strength is an actual infinity, but that doesn't mean anything that his punch which he throws must hold the entirety of actual infinity, or like an omnipotence even has a balance, even if it is about all logical and illogical power. It has a balance, so is Saitama. So the statement that no one is able to measure his strength. In this context, if we talk about logically speaking, in the logical manner, we can say that no longer anybody left to measure what level Saitama's strength actually is. So, if someone has to measure something, then they have to use some kind of input or structure, which a fundamental or foundational formula, some kind of empirical or theoretical construct to define something. And if someone uses some method, they are fundamentally using some kind of methods to measure something. So anybody who is able to measure something, they are using any types of measurement units or theories to measure something. Okay, so if anybody cannot, anybody which includes anybody means everything actually, because it is about nobody, not somebody but anybody. It means everyone cannot actually use some kind of formulas or theories to measure what kind of strength he has reached, which directly states that anybody with any system, any theories cannot fundamentally define what level of strength he has reached. So that's the same thing. He is not growing. He is actually reached some kind of level where his strength is not potential infinity but actual infinity, which is straight up out reversal, because his strength is not growing anymore. It is not about a level of infinity that is exceeding, but a level of infinity that has fully been realized and reached. Of course, it is also not something which exists within the concept of dimensionality and actual infinity I'm talking about. There are many infinities that has been realized which isn't confined within the concept of dimensionality, like Cantor's absolute infinity is such an example. Any types of actual infinity that is actualized. So your argument is completely flawed, I believe. So there's nothing like an infinite potential or anything. No, nowhere stated in the manga. Not stated by Dr. Genos, who explained the elementary concept himself. So your argument is completely based on some kind of past argument which no longer remains intact. Some people argue that Saitama would just dodge, but we all know Saitama usually does not dodge attack. Of course he does not dodge attack, so what? Are you claiming that Hiromi gonna one-shot him just because he has an ability where anyone who touches him dies instantly? I mean, no dude. It is not gonna happen. You know why? because the concept of death here is not about some kind of metaphysical concept. The death in JJK is not about some kind of tied to some kind of mental or spiritual realm where death itself takes someone to a central foundation where the concept of dimensionality doesn't exist, or boundaryless interaction or anything. Spirits or cursed spirits in JJK is not even fundamentally some kind of spiritual beings entirely, because there's an argument which gave by Mofga. You can view that his argument is fundamentally very much perfect in every sense. So since the concept of death is not actually about some kind of metaphysical concept of death or a spiritual mental direction, we cannot even say that the death touch is about some kind of spiritual or beyond dimensional to defeat someone Saitama who's completely even stated to exist beyond the laws of thought and logic itself. My previous arguments completely proven the fact that he exists beyond laws of thought. 3 videos I have made it, so I'm not going to explain why or how. This death touch is not about some kind of instant metaphysical concept of death again. So how are you claiming that it is able to kill someone who exists beyond the dimensionality and laws of thought itself and completely beyond higher reversal? So how are you claiming that? So my request is just nothing. This is a suggestion. This is not some kind of rivalry. I'm not planning to nuke you or just cyberbully you or anything. This is just a reaction which a normal being who scales his favorite fictional characters and fictional words met with someone who tried to downplay without knowing the fundamental difference in everything. So you are trying to prove that Saitama and his words is somewhat near JJK. Your argument is fundamentally flawed, and I hope you reconstruct it into a better argument in the future. And I'm winding up. There it is.